Hi, today we're going to take a quick look at infinitives and what they are and how to recognize them and also how to make them. Um, so the first thing you need to know about an infinitive is that it's kind of a verb, right? But it doesn't always act like a verb. Um, and when we get into non-finite and finite verbs later, you'll see more about that. But let's just get to the simplicity that is an infinitive. So when we have a verb, we can have it in so many forms because of the different tenses. For example, in simple tenses, you can have run, runs, ran, you can have will run, all those forms. Then in your continuous tenses, running, and then in your perfect tenses, it becomes run again. We can take another example, something like drive. Could also be drives, she drives. It could be drove in simple past tense, be will drive, it could be driving, and of course it could be driven, which is our perfect tenses there. So it can take many forms, but separate from a tense, we're going to have it look like this. To run and to drive. It is basically the simplest form of the verb before we put it. And you'll see actually a lot of times this is how it'll appear in the dictionary to show that this is a verb that's not being used in a sentence. Even in exams, they might say something like, oh, put this verb in the correct form, and they'll say, I have been, and they'll be like, to run for many years, right? And then you have to know, oh, that has to change to running, right? Because that's just the simplest form, that is without a tense. And then they ask you to add the tense to it. So that is kind of an infinitive separate from a sentence, as you will find it in a dictionary, as you find it in all those kind of things. You cannot have to ran, you cannot have to running, you cannot, it'll always be this one. You cannot have two runs or two drives. It'll always be this form. These two will match. Okay, it's tenseless. It doesn't have any prefixes or anything attached to it. It's just run, drive, okay, and then the two goes to the front. So that's how it looks outside of a sentence, but you can have it also in a sentence. But if you have it that way, then it needs to be action plus infinitive. Okay. It can't be any other way, and I'll show you how that works. So if I say, I love to run. So there is my action verb, which I'll highlight in yellow, which is love, and our infinitive will be to run. And there it is. So almost always the infinitive, if it is used in a sentence, it will come with a verb. It can also be used in the front of a sentence. To run is lovely. Okay, to run is lovely, but that'll still be an infinitive, and is your linking verb here will be the main verb in the sentence. And what you'll notice as well is that these infinitives actually act like nouns, because if I say, what do I love to run, it's actually a noun. And the same here, to run is lovely. So in this sentence here, to run is forming the object of the sentence. And in this sentence down here, to run is forming the subject of the sentence. Okay, so it's quite simple to notice what a infinitive looks like in a sentence, because it's going to have the word to in front of it, and it's going to be in its simplest form without any tense attached to it. Okay, so let's see if we can find some infinitives in the examples I'm going to show you now. So let's look at a few examples then. Here I have a sentence. I have always wanted to play the piano. Let's see if you can find the infinitive in that sentence. Give me a few seconds. And the infinitive there is to play. The main verb is wanted, which I will underline, right? So there has to be another action and then the infinitive, right? I love playing games with you. Let's see what the infinitive is there. And if you said there's an infinitive, you would be wrong because there isn't. Okay, there's no simple verb because playing already has that continuous tense ing attached to it, and love doesn't have the to in front of it, so there's no infinitive in there. Okay. Number 3, I had a great jump. Let's see if there's an infinitive in there. And once again, there isn't. Okay. Here is your main verb, right? I forgot to underline that in the previous one as well, right? But jump here is actually a noun. It's not a verb. It's not acting like a verb. It's not an infinitive. It doesn't have to in front of it. Okay. Number 4, I went to the park. Let's see if you can find the infinitive in there. Okay, this one has no infinitive. Some of you might say went to is the infinitive, but to has to be in front of the verb. And also went is past tense. It needs to be to go. So there is no infinitive in there. Here, to is a preposition that's connecting, where they are going. So that's not really, there's no infinitive in there. Okay, last one. To be or not to be? That is the question. Right, this one has two infinitive, and they're both the same, to be. So to be is actually, it's actually good that we're on that one because it has a lot of forms it can take. Because how do I use to be? To be can change to was, can change to is, it can change to were, it can change to are, all these, and you can change to been, okay? So it is a very versatile infinitive, and a lot of times you'll get a question in the exam, it'll be like, yesterday I be to be running. Okay, and they'll ask you, oh, well, how do I change that? And then you have to realize, oh, it's past tense, and the to be will change into was. Okay. So the answer there will be was. Okay, so now you know how to recognize a infinitive within a sentence. If they ask you, write down the infinitive from that sentence, you'll be able to do that, hopefully. But there's also another way that they might ask a question in an exam. They might ask you to give the infinitive form of the verb in a sentence. So let's say you have a sentence like this one. Sally likes chocolate. So of course you have to find the verb first, which is likes, okay? And then you have to give the infinitive form. So it's very simple. You need to take anything that makes this a tense. Okay, so the S needs to go away. And it's already in its simple form, and then you just add to the front. And there is your infinitive form. So that's what you do, but that's an easy one. So let's get to a bit of a harder one. All right. Johnny had never been to China before, so the main verb there is been. And you think to yourself, wow, how am I going to find out what the infinitive form is? Well, been is the past participle of go. So go can go in these forms. Go, goes, went, and been. And you see, aha. And the simplest form of that is go. So we're going to take all the other ones away, and we're going to add to in front of it. Okay. And then you'll end up with your infinitive form of been. Right? So it can get a little tricky, but if you just follow the rules, it'll be very, very simple. Right. Let's do one more. So let's look at this one. Oops, wrong. Mary is singing beautifully. Right. Now they can ask two things here. They can ask, what is the infinitive form of is, or they can ask, what is the infinitive form of singing? So if you look at is, was, all those will always be to be. Okay. Is, was, were, they will change to be. Singing will change to sing. Right. Okay. So that's infinitives. I hope you found this useful, and you can now do the activities to practice this as well.